The rain drummed against the diner windows, like countless tiny tears that refused to stop falling. Inside, the soft amber lights reflected off chrome tables and half-empty ketchup bottles. It was the sort of place no one lingered in for long, where silence and solitude seemed to haunt every seat. In a corner booth, beside the window streaked with rain, sat a man who had forgotten what warmth felt like. Daniel Turner, 38, had been visiting this diner every evening for the past 3 months. Each night, right at 7:00 p.m., he ordered the same meal: black coffee, scrambled eggs, and toast. He didn't eat out of hunger. He ate because the ritual gave him something to hold on to, a small thread of normalcy that kept him from unraveling completely. His wedding ring was gone. His apartment half empty, and his heart buried somewhere deep beneath the rubble of grief. His wife, Claire, had died in a car crash the previous winter. Since that night, Daniel's world had faded into shades of gray. He'd stopped believing in fate, in kindness, even in people. Every smile felt rehearsed, every good deed temporary. He sat quietly, listening to the clatter of dishes, the low hum of an old jukebox, and the rain outside. A sound that reminded him too much of the night his life had fallen apart. Before we go on, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of unexpected connections, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue telling stories that touch hearts. That evening seemed like any other, until it wasn't. The door to the diner swung open, letting in a gust of cold wind and the echo of heavy rain. A young woman stumbled inside, drenched from head to toe, clutching a small boy in her arms. The child, maybe 6 or 7, was frail and weary, his eyes speaking of too many nights without rest. The woman's hair clung to her cheeks, her coat torn at the sleeve. She looked around, desperate, as if searching for a small island in the middle of a storm. Daniel barely glanced up, until he saw the boy. The child held tightly to his mother's neck, whispering something softly, his lips pale. They approached the counter, and the woman spoke to the waitress in a trembling voice. "Please," she said. "Could I just get a bowl of soup for my son? I'll pay you tomorrow. We've been walking for hours." The waitress, a woman who'd seen countless stories unfold in that same diner, frowned sadly. "I'm sorry, ma'am. We can't serve on credit. It's the policy." The mother's face fell. She turned to her son, who buried his face in her shoulder, shivering. "It's okay, sweetheart," she whispered. "We'll find something later." Something shifted inside Daniel then. Maybe it was the boy's quiet fragility. Maybe it was the woman's wary but dignified tone. Or, maybe it was the memory of his wife's voice echoing softly in his conscience, reminding him of who he used to be. Without thinking, he stood. The chair scraped against the floor, drawing glances from nearby tables. He walked to the counter, reached for his wallet, and said simply, "Put whatever they want on my tab." The woman turned, startled. "No, please. You don't have to," she said. He met her gaze for the first time. Eyes tired but unbroken. "It's all right," Daniel replied gently. "Sit down. He's hungry." Her lips trembled as she nodded. The waitress gestured toward an empty booth. The woman hesitated, then asked quietly, "Would it be all right if we sit with you? My son doesn't like being alone." Daniel blinked, surprised. For months he'd avoided conversation, built walls no one could climb. Yet here she was, polite, cold, and sincere, asking to share his table. He hesitated, then looked at the boy's wide, innocent eyes. "Sure," he said softly. "Have a seat." They sat across from him. The woman wrapped her arms around her son, trying to warm him. "Thank you," she murmured. "I'm Emily. And this is Noah." Daniel nodded. Words didn't come easily anymore. But when the food arrived, 2 bowls of soup and warm bread, he found himself watching them. The way Noah held his spoon carefully. The spark of joy when he tasted something warm. The quiet relief in Emily's smile. It was a scene Daniel hadn't realized he missed. Simple, human warmth. For the first time in months, he felt something stir inside him. Not just pity, but life. As they ate, Emily shared that she and her son had been evicted after she lost her job. The shelter they'd stayed in was overcrowded, And tonight they had nowhere to go. She wasn't begging. Just grateful for a moment to rest and feed her child. Daniel listened. Really listened. Her voice carried the strength of someone who keeps going when everything's been taken away. And when she laughed quietly at something Noah said, Daniel realized how long it had been since he'd heard genuine laughter. Hours passed unnoticed. The rain slowed. The diner emptied. Noah, full and warm, fell asleep in his mother's lap. Emily brushed his hair gently and whispered, "He's all I have. Every day, I'm afraid I'll fail him." Daniel's heart ached. He remembered saying the same words to Claire before their daughter was born. Before the accident that took them both. But instead of sinking into grief, he looked at Emily and said softly, "You're not failing him. You're here. You're trying. That's what matters." Emily met his eyes, glistening. "You sound like someone who's lost, too." He smiled faintly. "Yeah," he murmured. "I guess I have." When they finally stood to leave, Emily reached into her pocket, pulling out a crumpled $5 bill. "It's not much," she said, "but I'll pay you back the rest soon." Daniel shook his head. "You don't owe me anything. Just take care of him." She hesitated, then took his hand. "You have no idea how much this means." "Thank you." After they left, Daniel sat for a long time, staring at the empty seats. The diner didn't feel so lonely anymore. He didn't expect to see them again. But fate had other plans. The next morning, as he headed to work, Daniel spotted Emily and Noah sitting outside a small library across the street. She was reading to him from a worn children's book. He stopped. Something urged him not to walk away. He crossed the road and said quietly, "Hey, you two doing all right?" Emily looked up, surprised, then smiled faintly. "We're okay. Just needed somewhere dry to sit." Daniel hesitated. "Did you find a place to stay?" She shook her head. "Not yet. The shelter said, maybe next week." He thought for a moment, then said the words before he could stop himself. "I've got a spare room. It's nothing fancy, but it's warm. You can stay until you find something." Emily's eyes widened. "Oh, we couldn't." "It's fine." Daniel interrupted. "No strings. Just a safe place." She studied him for a long moment, then nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "Thank you." Over the following weeks, something extraordinary happened. Daniel's house, once cold and silent, began to fill with life again. Noah's laughter echoed through the halls. Emily cooked breakfast every morning, saying it was her way of showing gratitude. And little by little, Daniel began to feel like himself again. He told her about Claire, about the accident, and how he'd stopped living afterward. Emily listened with quiet empathy, and shared her own dreams. How she wanted to become a nurse, how she'd almost stopped believing in hope. Together, they healed. Slowly, gently. In the smell of pancakes. In the sound of laughter. In the comfort of simply being understood. Months later, one evening, Daniel came home to find Noah sitting at the dining table, drawing with crayons. The picture showed 3 people holding hands beneath a bright sun. "That's you, me, and Mommy," Noah said proudly. "We're a family now." Daniel's throat tightened. He looked at Emily, who stood by the stove, smiling shyly. And something deep inside him, something long buried, finally came back to life. That night, as they all sat together for dinner, Daniel realized that sometimes, the people meant to heal us arrive when we least expect them. On a rainy night, in a quiet diner. When all we wanted was to be alone. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps us continue creating stories that remind the world that kindness still exists. Special request. Tell us in the comments. What's the kindest thing a stranger has ever done for you? Your story might inspire someone today. Because sometimes, a single act of compassion doesn't just feed the hungry. It saves a soul that had forgotten how to feel.